YouTube, continuing the discussion on telling people you're having weight loss surgery, the stigmas and the responses you get from others. Let me preface this by saying that I have told my husband, I've told my mother, I've told my sisters, I've told my children, and a very few select friends. My husband at first was not pleased. His immediate thought was, wow, what are you doing? I took him to some of the informational meetings through the clinic I'm working with, and my husband's actually on board. I mean, he saw the documentation, he talked to the doctors with me, and I strongly encourage you, if you have a spouse that's not on board with you, go to a support group, go to a surgical meeting, you know, do some, you know, research online, watch some videos. Education is key when it comes to helping somebody understand what you're going through and to be on board with you with that. The immediate reaction for most people is going to be, whoa, you know what I mean? That is what it is. I mean, bariatric surgery is not something that most people commonly talk about, and as I mentioned before, our society tends to sensationalize it with, you know, the 600-pound life people, and you know, that's great that when those people get the help they need, and that's, you know, I hope they have wonderful success with that, but they're on TV for a reason. You know, that's the extreme case. But that doesn't mean that weight loss surgeries are not occurring for people who only have 100 pounds to lose. You know, lap band was a huge thing for people who didn't have that much weight to lose, but they found out afterward that it, you know, wasn't as without side effects as they thought it was. Sleeve is still relatively new, but I find personally it works for me. But when you tell somebody that you're having most of your stomach cut out, their first response is, what? So I'm not talking about the type of people who respond with the first initial concern. I'm talking about the people whose automatic responses are rude, or, you know, whether they're going to hold that against you later on. And if you're not comfortable talking about your weight now with this person, you're not going to be comfortable talking about your weight during the process or after, because it will be a constant topic. And if you think that somebody is going to suddenly stop making comments or be more supportive or, you know, be nicer to you because you've lost the weight, you know, like somebody making fun of you today who constantly brings up your weight, if you think that that's going to stop as soon as you start losing, you're wrong. Everything I've ever seen and read and, you know, seen from other people is that those people who are fixated on your size and using that as a factor in manipulating you or making you feel a certain way, that's not going to stop. So I strongly caution you on even talking to your family about it, unless you feel comfortable with it. And pardon me. Okay, I'm back. So as I was saying, the people that you talk to nowadays who aren't exactly supportive of you or fixated on your weight or making comments or things like that, that's not going to end. So I would probably not tell those people. And if they do ask, well, I'm dieting and exercising just like everybody else. And that's not so much to lie, it's just to put a barrier between your personal life and theirs. Not everybody has a right to know what's going on with your personal life. And you know, obviously you want to tell your spouse because your whole diet needs changed. And the one thing that I caution you about your spouses is watch for sabotage. I'll do a whole nother video about this later, but about sabotage, because I'm already encountering some things like that. But yeah, some husbands do have, you know, an issue with you becoming thinner because, unfortunately, the side effect of that, or fortunately, if you're looking for it, is male attention if you're a female, or female attention if you're male, or however your orientation is. That attention from others will increase. Unfortunately, we are a very superficial country, so to speak, and we tend to notice, you know, people more often when they're thinner. And as sad as that is, you know, people get better tips when they're thin, or, you know, get better jobs, you know, look better in interviews, blah, 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 because the stigma attached to you're overweight, therefore you're unprofessional, you know. You can encounter those. And so that brings me to the workplace. Do you tell your boss? Number one, I could tell you they're not legally allowed to ask you if you're having weight loss surgery. If they do ask and you have that type of relationship, you are perfectly within your rights to say no, no, or none of your business, or I prefer not to talk about it, or, you know, if anything I'm going through in my personal life begins to affect my work life, please bring that up to me, but as of right now, my personal life I would like to keep personal. You know, your weight loss is obviously, you know, able to be seen by everybody else. It's highly visible. I mean, as you shrink in front of people's eyes, they're going to notice that you're losing weight. But the specifics on how you're doing that, that's up to you to tell. You will hear stories of people who, you know, have had good reactions and bad reactions. So my question for you would be, if you're questioning whether or not to tell your boss or your coworkers, how much attention do you want on your weight at work? And, you know, that's something you're going to have to decide for yourself. I mean, obviously there's going to be some attention to it if you're losing quickly, but if you want people in on it, tell them. But if you're not comfortable with it, then don't. It's none of their business. Your friends. I would hope that your friends would be supportive because they're your friends, you know. But if they are not, then I have learned along this way, I had to make new friends. I mean, not lifelong friends. It's not like I'm never your friend. But when it comes to this topic, and I know people are not comfortable talking about it, I made new friends who were comfortable talking about it. I mean, there's lots of great support groups online. There's local support groups you can look into. Type it into Facebook, you know, gastric sleeve support, or, you know, Ruin Y support. But you might have to find new friends that support you through this, because you may find that your current friends don't. And I mentioned it before, and it's not because every person's bad. It's not because every person, you know, is not a true friend, or, you know, doesn't love you. It could be something with them. You know, they may not want to see you change because they think it might change who you are, or they might be concerned about your health and not be able to express that. Or, you know, I see a lot of people who do have weight loss surgery who end up addicted to other things like shopping, alcohol, you know, street drugs, you know, unhealthy behaviors. And they may be concerned about that. It could be they're just not happy with themselves, and seeing you work on yourself is not a comfortable feeling for them. Like I said, I would suggest finding a new group of supporters if your local group that you have now is not supporting you. And I strongly urge on the side of caution when telling people, just because there's going to be a lot of attention on you as it is. So, you know, be very choosy about who you tell, and don't feel like you're obligated to tell everybody. The only people that I truly want to support me through this are my husband and my children. And unfortunately, my sisters are not that on board. I mean, they haven't said anything lately to really say they're not. But at the same time, you know, I don't feel the need to just delve into some of these deep topics with them that I could use the support on, because I don't think they're in a place where they feel comfortable talking about that to me. And my mother's not really, you know, 100% on board with this. She thinks I've lost my mind, to be honest. And, you know, later on, I think when they see that I'm doing better and I'm healthier and I'm happier, they're going to come back, you know. And I don't want to burn those bridges in the meantime because they're not here now, if that makes sense. It's a personal journey, and as long as you have a good support network within your immediate relationships with, like, your husband or whatever, and maybe it is your mom. Maybe your mom is your best friend and your best supporter, and you need her on board. Education is key. Talk about it. You know, go to meetings together. Do what you can to get on the same page. And even if they don't 100% agree with you, they can at least respect the fact that you have done the research to get to the point you're at. So that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about, relationships. There's so much going on with gastric sleeve besides weight loss. Definitely, it's an entire life change, and it changes everything from your friendships to your dynamics to your weight. So we're on the train ride. Let's keep going, right? Bye, YouTube.